What's going on, guys? It is Rachel here from Makers Gonna Learn, your ultimate die cutting community. If you do not know who we are or what we do, we run an amazing die cutting membership that is perfect for you. If you guys have a die cutting machine that works with SVG or PNG cut files, and that could be a Cricut, a Brother, a Silhouette, and many more machines, you will get so much value out of our membership. Guys, we have over 2,000 digital cut files, over 250 fonts, more are added multiple times a month. We have awesome printable guides. We have a great Facebook group. We have a free commercial license for our yearly members. We have 3 free e-courses to go along with that, and so much more, guys. I hope that you guys definitely grab a membership because you will not regret it. Anyways, guys, today we're going to create an awesome, really simple glitter tumbler. So there's a lot of glitter tumbler videos out there, and I have made one in the past, but it was a bit advanced, and I'm wanting to just kind of make this one a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise for you guys, to show you a really easy way you can make a glitter tumbler. So there are so many different ways you can make them. A lot of people, have their specific way, specific products. So I'm just kind of laying out mine here. Of course, do your own thing for sure. Our goal here is to give you guys the awesome inspiration and capabilities to be able to make these yourself. So definitely make them your own and make them unique just like you are. But one thing that we definitely wanted to point out today is that there are hundreds of thousands of ways you guys can customize your glitter tumblers. You can use different colors of glitter. You can use multiple colors of glitter. You can ombre it. You can use a lot of confetti. You can use whatever you want, but the steps remain the same that you do need to follow in order to get a successful glitter tumbler. So that's what we're going to show you guys today. So I'm going to go through the supplies that we have for you guys, and also I wanted to mention we have an awesome cut file that we're going to be using on our decal, and it says eat, sleep, craft, repeat. It's such a cute cut file, and you guys actually get that today for free. So click the link down below, find the link wherever it's at, and grab that cut file because you guys will absolutely adore it, using it all the time for a ton of different things. But today it's going to be used on an awesome glitter tumbler, and I can't wait to show you guys how we create it. So along with your decal, we have already sized, cut, and weeded this and added transfer paper, but I will show you guys how we manipulated it in Design Space to fit our mug properly. So other than that, you are going to need some paper towels, some polyurethane spray. We like the Minwax brand, and you can have clear satin, clear gloss, whatever you would like. This is our favorite brand of epoxy. We absolutely adore it. I will, of course, link it down below. It is HXDZFX. I will never be able to say that without looking at the packaging. I wish I had a better name, but it is an incredible resin. We did an awesome video on comparing a bunch of different resins, and this one beat all of my favorites hands down, so I'm so excited about that. So this is the resin we're going to need. You're also going to need some little plastic cups and some craft sticks, jumbo craft sticks. These regular ones are fine too. Another really important thing that I just choose to tell you guys, especially if you are a beginner and you want to make glitter tumblers, again, this is going to be a more concise, simpler video. However, the one thing I stand firm on is I do not love working with chunky glitter. It ends up making a bigger mess. You have to spend so much time sanding, and you have to do 2 coats of that, and then that results in you having to do way thicker coats of epoxy because that glitter is so thick. So I steer clear from the really chunky glitters, and I usually use a fine glitter. That is really easy to get a hold of, and I feel like it just makes for a better project outcome, especially if you're just starting out. Now, if you're seasoned about it and you have done ombre, 8 different color glitter tumblers, have at it. Use the chunkiest glitter you can find. That is totally fine. It's just my advice to the newbies out there to steer clear of it for right now, just while you're learning. And also, we need some rubbing alcohol, so we have it in our little pump bottle here. We have some electrical tape. Again, in my other video, which I will link down below if you guys want to see the super long version, we do compare and contrast just about every supply that I'm showing you today, but these are our favorites. So we use electrical tape instead of painter's tape or masking tape or anything like that to tape off our mugs with. You're going to need a sanding block, and of course you're going to need a tumbler. We got this one at Walmart. This is an Ozark Trail, and I think it was around $6 or $7, which again is great. Another tip to the newbies is don't sink a ton of money into something that you might have a few craft fails at, and that's totally fine. So don't go getting Yeti tumblers and, you know, glittering them your first try, because you might have a little bumps in the road, some you know, things to work out. I know that I surely did, so I'm definitely glad that I used these cheaper tumblers throughout my testing stage of that. You're also going to need, I think I already mentioned vinyl gloves. If not, you need some vinyl gloves. I've heard talk about some people saying you need the nitrile gloves or other types of gloves, whatever you want to use. I've always used vinyl, and I always think that they work best for me, so I use vinyl gloves. And then last but not least, this is the spray adhesive that I absolutely love. It is Loctite. It's just the general performance. It's 100 light, so if you guys want that, of course it'll be linked for you guys down below. There's a lot of Loctite types though. Just make sure you get the 100, because you don't want to have like a gigantic mess of super heavy duty spray adhesive all over your tumblers. That's not what we want, so we're using that today. And last but not least, guys, we also have some poster boards that we're going to need, 2 or 3, and we also have our tumbler turner. Now this guy was created by Joseph and Hunter. If you guys have been here a while, you know Joseph and Hunter. They're great. They built this thing, and it might not be pretty, but it works. So this has been around the block. We've used this for months and months of testing and creating glitter tumblers. It is tried and true. It is a chicken rotisserie turner that they have turned into an awesome tumbler turner for us. So if you guys know the gist of tumblers and you know they've got a turn, you can do that manually, or you can do that automatic by using one of these machines that you create, or you make your husband create. That would be great. But you do have to let it rotate for the first several hours. So if you choose to do that manually, you will have to kind of makeshift an apparatus to be able to put your mug in sideways so that it rotates long ways like that, and you will have to rotate it every 15 to 20 minutes very, very often for several hours. So I definitely went with this guy here. Joseph made us 2, so they have worked great, and we definitely love it. So if you are planning on starting a business making glitter tumblers, this is definitely something you want to invest in, or a couple of them, because they do work very, very well. And the last thing I want to mention before we dive into everything is, guys, make sure that you are wearing all the protective gear necessary to keep you guys in 100% perfect health. We care about you guys so, so much. I'm going to be super safe, guys. I probably have 100 hours working with epoxy. I'm very safe with it. I always try to do it in a well-ventilated area. I always take the proper precautions. You guys do the same, but don't come at me for not doing this video, because I love teaching you guys, and I don't want to have to skip parts because I've got a mask on or anything like that. So anyways, guys, now that the serious stuff is out of the way, I'm really excited to get going on this project for you guys. So first of all, we'll just hop in Design Space really quick and show you guys how we manipulated this cut file to fit our tumbler here, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so here we are in Design Space, and here is the cut file as it is just regularly imported here. And as you can see, it's quite long. Just as it's imported, it's about 3.5 inches wide by almost 7 inches tall. Now if you measure your mug, or you know, the space that you want your glitter to go on your mug, we see that we have max about 5.5 inches to work with in height. And then width-wise, you always want to make sure that you don't make anything too wide when you are applying decals to mugs or tumblers or round ornaments or anything like that, because the cut file or the image will start to distort if you make it too large and it has to wrap around the cup or the mug or whatever you're using too much. It will distort that image. So we are going to keep ours, this is our finished one right here, and we're going to keep it at 3 inches wide by 4.5 inches high. So that is like the perfect medium there for that. So how we get there is we're going to go down to the bottom left hand corner of our selected layer here, and we're going to click unlock. And then you can do this by hand, you know, you can kind of manipulate it by hand just by yourself, or you can go up here to the size up at the top here and make your width 3, and it's still unlocked, and make your height 4.5. And as you can see, that makes it exactly how we want it, and you can go ahead and lock that back. And once you have that sized, all you have to do is go ahead and click make it. Now again, guys, you do get this amazing, beautiful, really cute and trendy cut file for free today. So definitely go and grab that cut file, because you will definitely want to use it on so many amazing crafty things. So now, guys, we're going to go ahead and set our material to vinyl, and our blade is a little bit dull, so we're going to give that more pressure. But guys, all we did was cut that out, burnished it, weeded it, and added our masking tape or transfer tape, and now we're ready to rock and roll with our vinyl decal. Now, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on our glitter tumbler. Okay, first things first, guys, we're going to remove the lid from our tumbler here and set it aside. And now we're going to remove this label here. So just kind of get up and under it. And sometimes these labels have an adhesive strip on them that is super annoying, and this one does here, you can see. So now this adhesive has been left here, and that is just not what we want. So we're going to get a paper towel here and our alcohol, and I'm just going to pump a little bit of alcohol and pour it on our decal here and let him soak for a bit. Now, he's probably not going to come all the way off, and guys, it's really not the biggest deal if it doesn't come all the way off. So just going to kind of scrape it a little bit, and you can see it's coming off a little, which is good. You can add more of that if you want to, and just get that residue off. Now, yours might not have any residue, but it will of course have a label, so just remove that label and then you'll be good to go. And now, guys, what you want to do is stick your hand in the tumbler and go ahead and wipe the entire thing with alcohol. This is going to remove any dust, dirt, debris, or oil from your fingertips, because the next thing that we're going to do, guys, is we're going to tape him up on the top and bottom. So we don't want any epoxy down here. You can see that little line that we're going to follow. And then we also just want to create a little lip up here where we also don't want any epoxy. So we're going to add some electrical tape over here, and I'm going to show you guys how to add a little bitty flap, because as you go through here and you remove it, and as you do your epoxy, you will have to remove that tape, and making a little tail is a lot easier to grab and pull than trying to find where you taped it and where the end of it is while everything's all glittery and epoxy and, you know, messy. So go ahead and let that dry, and then we're just going to take our electrical tape and tape it up. Okay, guys, so now that I have that, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put your hand in it so you don't get, you know, all messed up where you just cleaned. And you're going to take your electrical tape here, a good clean edge, and you're just going to line it up here with the edge on the bottom of your cup. And I'll bring you in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's that edge on that cup, you guys can see. And we're just going to slowly go through here and add this on, just twisting as you go. Alright, guys, now that you are just right there next to the end, you're going to go ahead and apply it down, and then give yourself a little bit of extra here. So that's how much extra we have. Then go ahead and take your scissors and cut that off. And now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to see where it is adhered at. So we can see right there, we need that adhered down. And then we're going to take this extra little tail here, and all we're going to do is flip it under and give us a little tail here. So this is going to make it super easy to peel off later on. So now, guys, you'll repeat that with the rim here, but the rim is a little bit trickier because you don't really have a line to guide you, which is why the bottom is so easy. I like to do it first. So up at the top, now this could take a couple of tries. I usually try and do about half. So I'll hold it here and apply that down, and I actually roll the mug on the table or the tumbler. I'm going to call it a mug, guys, the whole video, just saying. I'm going to catch myself twice, and that's it. And if you find yourself getting a little out of whack there, a little wonky, just peel it up and redo it. No harm done. And whenever you're really close, guys, to just overlapping it, you're just going to go ahead and overlap it and give yourself a little extra just like last time. Cut it off and make your little tail again. You just fold under and fold it up, and then look, there's one little tail, and here's the other little tail ready for you guys to just peel off. So now, since we went through there and I manhandled that, I'm going to go through and just gently wipe it again. Not as crazy as the first time, just kind of wiping it down with that alcohol and allowing it to dry. Alright, guys, now is the time where you need to remove your jewelry and grab some gloves. I've got my vinyl gloves here ready to go. I'm going to stick them on my hands, and right now, guys, on the table I have a piece of poster board. And that is what I'm going to use to glitter over so that it all falls on there and I can easily collect it back into the glitter container. So once you're all gloved up and ready to go, you're going to need a couple of things handy. So go to a well-ventilated area to spray this Loctite, guys, because you really don't want to get this all over the place. I'm going to do just a little bit in here just to show you guys. Again, I'm taking as many precautions as I possibly can while filming the video. So just make sure that he is good and shaken up. And then we have our taped up tumbler here. And you can go ahead and fold those edges inside to make it a little bit easier, because you are going to have your hand in there quite a bit through this process. So you need him here, and you also need your glitter available, and that should be it, guys. So what the process is going to be right now, I'm going to talk you through it first and then go ahead and go through it. I'm going to hold my tumbler just like this, spray Loctite on there, a good even coat. We're going to do 2 coats, so don't worry too much about doing that. We're going to go ahead and spray the Loctite all over. And then as soon as we're done with that, before it dries, we're going to open up our glitter and glitter the whole thing. And then that's going to be the end of the first part of this. So let's go ahead and begin. So just because I want to minimize the fumes getting everywhere, I have a little makeshift box that I have made to be able to spray my adhesive in. So let me go grab that and then we'll be good to go. Alrighty, guys. Now I have placed my tumbler in my hand so I can kind of rotate it around here, and here's my Loctite. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go kind of back and forth and rotate my tumbler to make sure I'm getting all of it, and I can kind of maneuver it in my hand or twist it like this and make sure that I'm getting all of it. Just make sure that you are getting a good even coat. And I do like to do pumps, so I'll pump one side then pump the other side instead of a long continuous stream of the spray. I feel like that does help to make it even as well. Okay, now once you're done, you can go ahead and remove your box here. And now, guys, we have our glitter here, and before this dries, all we're going to do is we're going to pour our glitter on here. Now, I kind of do it a little bit organized because I'm crazy. I like to start at the bottom and make sure I get this little edge first, then start at the top, and then, guys, I just go nuts and put it all over. It's really fun. So we're going to be a little bit neat about it. So we're going to start over here on the edge and just sprinkle it to make sure that we get this edge that's adhered really well. We want to make sure that we're not leaving any little bits out or anything like that. So just turn it with your hands and make sure you're getting that edge. Now you can go and get the top. Be really delicate. You make sure you're getting it all though. And guys, we're not going to be wasting this glitter, so don't worry about all the glitter that's going on your poster board. And then, guys, once you have that is when you can get crazy and go in the middle and have a ton of fun with it. And it looks beautiful. And this is just one coat, guys. So we're going to have multiple coats. So what you're going to do now is you're going to shake it off like a dog. And now this guy is ready for you guys to sit somewhere and let him dry for about half an hour. And then you're going to repeat that whole process. So you're going to get your box back or go outside, spray another layer of this guy on there and another layer of glitter. So that's what you're going to do. And then after that, let him dry for again about another half hour. And then we will be back after that process is done. And guys, well, I just sat our tumbler over there to dry a bit, and now I want to show you how we can conserve all of this glitter. So you can see our glitter, it's ran out a bit. This is the Starcraft Crystal Waters glitter. If you guys wanted to know, I'll put the cap on and show you. It's a really pretty blue. It's a gorgeous glitter, and it's really pretty. They have so many colors, guys, and so many different types. There's chunky, there's a very fine glitter, they have a lot of metallic, they have some holographic. It's really cool. So I'm just going to fold my poster board up like a big taco. I'm going to place my jar right there. I'm going to pinch the end here just to help me a little bit. And guys, all I'm going to do is tilt it over to the side to go into the container, and then just kind of move my fingers just so it kind of moves down and goes in there. I hope you guys can see that. And we're getting so much glitter. It almost looks like we didn't use any to make these, which is crazy. And you can see all the glitter that you have left. That is so much glitter that you'll be able to do so many more tumblers with. All right, guys, we are back. This guy has 2 layers of adhesive and glitter on him, and he has dried for quite some time. I would at least recommend it drying for about an hour before you go on to this next step. So the next step, guys, is we're going to add a very generous coat of polyurethane. So what that is going to do is it is going to stop these little glitter pieces from falling off and getting in your epoxy, because we are going to epoxy over these, but we don't want the epoxy itself to have glitter in it. If that makes sense, it might not, and it makes a world of difference to have a layer of epoxy, or excuse me, a layer of polyurethane spray on here before you add your epoxy. So we are definitely going to do that. So again, go out to a really well ventilated area, and this coat is going to be much thicker than your coat of adhesive because you did 2. We're just going to do 1 generous coat. So I'm going to go back and get my little cardboard box, and we're going to go ahead and spray this down. Okay, so here we are. I have shaken up our Minwax polyurethane spray here, and again, we're just going to do the pumps all around it and give a good even coat. Alrighty, guys, now that you have this done, we're going to go ahead and remove our box. And what you're going to want to do now, guys, is set him somewhere where the kiddos won't get to him or anything like that, and go ahead and let him dry for about an hour or 2. Really, the longer you let him dry, the better, but you don't need to let him dry overnight or anything like that. A couple hours will do just fine. The lowest amount I would do is 1 hour. So if you're really eager to get this guy done, just set a timer for an hour, and you guys can go ahead and move on to the next step after this guy dries. Alright, so here is our glitter tumbler. It is dried, so like I could hold it and not have any glitter come off on my hands, which is amazing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the tape from him. So we made these little tails, so it's so easy to remove it. I'm going to get really in tight close so you guys can see how satisfying this is, because it really is satisfying. So go ahead and grab your tail and just remove that tape. And look how cool that is. I absolutely love this. It's so satisfying. And then once you got the bottom, you can actually now hold it and grip it a little bit and flip it over. And we're going to pull up that tape from inside the cup. And now we're going to do the same thing with the top. So we're going to take the top part and pull it as well. And now you have a super satisfying, really clean looking cup to start off with. So now that your glitter is done and the polyurethane is done, what you're going to want to do now is go ahead and prep for the epoxy. So we're going to go and get our electrical tape again, and we're going to tape it up again, but with a little trick this time, because I know you guys are wondering, well, if we're just going to tape it up again, why not just leave the tape on there? So I'll definitely show you guys why. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our electrical tape here and we're going to apply it down, but we are only going to apply it a little bit lower than we did before. So let me get up close so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Can you guys see that? Okay, so here's our glitter and here is our tape, and there's just a little bit of a stainless steel that you guys can see. So that is where we're going to tape all around this guy. We're going to leave that much exposed, and we're going to do the same on the top. And the reason for that, guys, is when we apply the epoxy, we want the epoxy to create a complete seal around our glitter, because we want to be able to throw these guys in the dishwasher and have them last a really long time. So we don't want any moisture getting in here on our glitter. So if we leave a little bit of stainless steel exposed, we can have that epoxy go in there and really create a seal around the glitter. So that's exactly why we're doing that. So we're just going to go through there and apply that tape really precisely all the way around. And again, you can peel it up if you don't like right where it's at. You can always redo it. So again, we're going to leave a lot of excess, cut it off, and add our little tail here. Now this tail is going to be much more helpful than the other tail, because this guy is going to be on the tumbler turner, turning while we are peeling this off. So we want to make sure that we have a good, easy grip on our little tab here to be able to peel it off while there's epoxy and everything happening. Okay, so now that we have the bottom and you can see that beautiful rim, we're going to do the top. But before we do the top, we're actually going to go ahead and take the football from our tumbler turner and go ahead and insert it into our cup, because as you can see, the football is wider than the cup here, and if we were to go ahead and tape this and then put our football in there, it would pull the tape in and bend it in. And what would happen then, guys, is when we pulled our nifty little tab to remove it while it's turning, it would be stuck in there and we would have us a mess on our hands. So just go ahead and insert this football here. Go ahead and press it down. It's important for it to be tight, of course. All right, and now that the football is already inserted, you can go ahead and do the rim of the top of your tumbler here. So we're going to do it the exact same way. Just tilt it over and start our line here. And again, you can just see a little bit of that stainless steel. That's exactly what we want. And notice, guys, how I'm being able to just hold the cup. That's what that polyurethane spray will do. You really don't want to skip that step or anything like that. That's definitely one that you want to keep. It's very important. So go ahead and overlap that. Then we're going to make our little tail here. Fold that in and fold it in again. Now there we go. So now that we have this going, guys, we can bring in our tumbler turner. Okay, our tumbler turner is just out of frame here, and we have our cup right here that's all prepped and ready to go. And now we're going to get to the epoxy part. So we have our resin here, and it is in part A and part B. So we're going to be pouring equal parts into these cups. Now, if you guys are just starting out, I do recommend using some milliliter measuring cups, which most of the time they do come with different brands of epoxy. So if you want to do that, you totally can. For a regular tumbler this size, we usually use 15 to 20 milliliters of each, and that makes plenty for one coat of epoxy. So keep that in mind as well if you're wanting the measurements, 15 to 20 milliliters. But I have done this so much, guys, I usually eyeball it and just make sure that it's super even. So I'm just gonna pour the exact amounts of these guys in this little cup, and I'm literally probably just gonna fill it until like right here, like really, we do not need a ton for this guy. So I'm just gonna fill it up right to there and make sure it's even for both cups. Just pouring this in here, and then I'm gonna stop and eyeball it. And I usually like to turn as I pick up my epoxy. It kind of does a better job at, pulling that off and not letting it spill everywhere. So again, I'm actually going to get down low here right next to the table and pour this in. And you'll notice, guys, one side is a lot thicker than the other side. That is normal for epoxies. Now I'm going to just kind of twist it. And now I'm going to look at them and make sure that they're perfectly even. And they look great to me, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these caps back on here. And now you can set these to the side. And I have some craft sticks here. And the directions don't say to do this, guys, but I usually do it just to be safe. I'll mix these parts separately just a little bit before I mix them together. Don't ask me what it does. I really don't think it makes any sort of a difference. I've just always done it, and it seems to just work for me, so I just do it. So of course this side is a lot less thick than this other side here. So rule of thumb, you're going to want to pour the less thick one into the more thick ones, because it would be harder to get him out and pour him here than it would be to get this really thin coat out and put him in there. So I'm just going to stir him around, and then he's just going to pour really easily in here, super easily. And I'm just going to kind of help him along, scrape the sides with my craft stick, because while we measured it perfectly, after you do this, it might not be perfect, because there's some on the sides and there's some on the bottom that you forgot. So definitely keep that in mind as you're scraping, because you really don't want to waste any, and you want to make sure that the measurements are even. So just keep scraping until you're satisfied. Then you can go ahead and toss this and then mix these together. So this is very, very important. You guys want to make sure that this is mixed properly. I would mix it for a good 3 minutes, and if you get tired, just switch hands. Just keep mixing. It doesn't really matter which hand you do it with, as long as you're just mixing it a little bit. Scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, mix it all together. And yeah, so I'll be back, guys, in about 3 minutes. So I'm just going to keep stirring away. Here is our tumbler turner, and I have this good and mixed now, guys, so I'm just going to set this up here to the side. And I do have a piece of poster board underneath the turner, just because sometimes it can get messy, especially when you're first starting out. If you guys can kind of see in the light, I have a lot of little driblets here, and you don't want to get anything on your work surface or, you know, your table, especially if you're doing this in your craft room or anything like that. So now we're going to take our epoxy tumbler here and place it on the turner, and it goes in really well. And now, guys, you can kind of maneuver your tumbler to make sure it's even. And guys, we're actually going to do this while it's on, so I'm going to turn this guy on, and you can see he's rotating. So now what we're going to do, guys, is we're not going to get in any kind of hurry. Okay, I'm going to take our little craft stick here and take it out. And what we're going to do, guys, we're just going to pour a little bit on here at a time and just work it in with our fingers. There's no better tools to use than your fingers, especially because you want to be able to feel the layer that you're doing, and you want to make sure that you're not making a layer that's too thick or anything like that. So you can really feel that with your fingers. So you don't need a brush or a scraper or anything like that. Just use your hands. So we're just going to pour a little bit of this onto our tumbler, just like that. And don't get concerned if it already starts to move on you. Just kind of rub it in a little bit and just kind of let it tumble on its own. And just keep doing this, guys. Now you'll miss some spots and be able to fill in some spots, and that's totally fine. And with your fingers, you can definitely feel what's covered and what's not. And now that you have the majority of it covered, you can kind of take a few fingers in there and just dip out a little bit of epoxy just to kind of cover the areas that you can feel. Just to continuously run your fingers up and down the tumbler until you can feel what's been covered. And most of the times you can actually just use the epoxy that you're kind of accumulating on your glove to fill in those little grooves that you can feel do not have any glitter on them. So just get a little bit here and there, and make sure you're really getting into the grooves up here at the top and at the bottom, that you're filling in all those little spots. And I see a big spot right here, and again, it's turning, so don't let it stress you out. It'll come back around, I promise. Just make sure you're getting these seams, because it's really important to get that seal on there. All right, and now that you have a good seal around there, just really take it slow. This stuff is drying very slowly, so just make sure that you let it rotate several times so that you know you have a seal on the top and the bottom. Really pay attention to feeling under your glove on where more glitter, or excuse me, where more epoxy needs to go. And then once you have everything covered, what I do is I'll just take one finger, swipe it down, and I have some excess on my glove, and I just go ahead and let it go into that cup there. So I just, do it in kind of a downward motion just as it's rotating. And the point of this, guys, is you're rotating it so that the epoxy, as it dries, it doesn't settle in one place. But the tumbler, just because that's just how it is, it's going to kind of settle one way or another. And some of the test tumblers that I've had will have the epoxy settle all at the bottom, because maybe the football in there is curved the tumbler just a little bit downward, and all that epoxy will hold down here and create like a bulge, and you really don't want that. So just make sure that you're removing the excess once you're finished. Especially if you're using fine glitter, you really won't need to do a lot of sanding, if any, after this layer before you add your vinyl anyways. So just, don't scrape off too much, like don't put too much pressure with your finger, but just enough to remove what you know is the excess of the epoxy here. And then once this is complete, guys, all we're going to do is let this guy turn for 30 to 45 minutes. And it's super, 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 super important to peel this tape off after 45 minutes, no more than 45 minutes. You can't pull it off immediately because, of course, this epoxy is really thin, so it's going to kind of move around on you. But once it gets tacky in about 30 to 45 minutes is prime time for you guys to peel this guy, peel the tape off. So definitely just remember to do that. If there's like a little line of epoxy that's kind of come up where your tape was underneath, all you have to do is get a paper towel with some alcohol, just a little bit, and just barely kind of, wipe it off of the rim and the bottom of your epoxy tumbler if you see any little bits that shouldn't be there. And other than that, guys, you should be rocking and rolling. This guy should turn for about 6 hours, and then you can actually let him set on a shelf or something away from where dust can get him or where the kiddos can, you know, mess him up, and let him cure overnight. If you want to let him tumble all night long, if you have an automatic tumbler, definitely do that. Let it rotate overnight. That's totally fine. But minimum about 5 to 6 hours. So after you take the tape off, after 45 minutes, you really don't have to babysit this guy at all unless you have to do it manually. And just like that, guys, with a bunch of movie magic, we have a epoxy tumbler all ready to go with the first layer on. His tape was removed after 45 minutes, and there was just a little strip of epoxy there. We just got a paper towel here, and right where he had the little strip, literally we just wiped it right away and it came right off. So that's definitely a little perk there, a little tip to help you guys make these look a little more professional, because if you leave those little lines on there, that's not really that cute. Okay, so now, guys, it's really smooth already, but just for the sake of the video, I'm going to show you guys how you would sand this. So we're going to go ahead and sand it just to make it smooth. You can even just sand it on one area if you want to, just the area that you're applying your decal on. So it really just depends on what you would like to do. You don't really have to do the whole thing unless you just want to. So you're just going to take a sanding block and sand it. And once you've sanded that tumbler well, we're just going to get some more alcohol and clean them up. It's always important to clean as you go because you want, again, a successful project. So we're just gonna wipe him down and make sure he has some time to dry. All right, now I'm gonna move him up a little bit so that we can focus on our decal. I'm just gonna burnish the back of our decal here and remove the backing. And once you have that removed, you can trim along the top or wherever you think is a little bit uneven on here, just to make it a little bit easier for you. Now we're going to bring in our tumbler. And what I'm going to do as well, guys, is just take an extra little measure here. I'm going to snip some snips into my transfer tape here. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow for this transfer to kind of mold better onto this round tumbler here, or this rounded tumbler. So we don't want to try and, you know, mess this up at all. So definitely be careful where you're slicing, but it definitely does help to do this. So now we're going to just position this right where we want to. Make sure that you know, take a lot of time and like where it's going. And then I usually just press my finger right there in the middle and work my way out with my fingers. This type of project here, you don't really want to use the scraper tool because it kind of just doesn't, you know, move with those curves like your finger does. So just work your way out, and you can see these slits are allowing us to be able to lay these down in sections to where it won't ripple our vinyl or anything like that. So once you have these burnished well, you can just go ahead and remove this. And they'll come off in sections, and of course that's totally fine. And there you go. Look how neat this is, guys. It's going to look so great. So now after you've got this on, what you're going to do, I know it sounds very repetitive, guys, but take your rubbing alcohol and clean the bottom and the top of your tumbler again. And then you're going to add your electrical tape the same place you did for the first layer of epoxy. So you can see the line here. Let me get up really close, see if you can see it. You can see that epoxy line where it's clear down here. That's right where we're going to add our tape, the same place we did for our last set of epoxy. Okay, guys, so now we have our tumbler on our turner here all taped up, ready to go. I'm gloving up right now, and I have already mixed another batch of resin. But if you have some left over from like another one that you did 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, that's fine. You just don't want it to set too long. But for this second coat, you're going to use literally barely any. So for your second coat, you're going to use a lot less than your first coat. I would say like maybe 10 milliliters of each, if that, just a little bit. You know, you're not going to use a ton. The biggest reason why you're even doing a second coat is to go over your decal here. So that's really the only purpose in doing a second coat here. So I've got my epoxy, and just like before, we're just going to kind of pour it and then work with it, work with our hands, and just go slow about it. The first layer is a lot more crucial than this second layer, so you got kind of can just kind of, you know, not be too precise with this second layer, because the first layer was the one that really mattered to create that seal and get that first base coat on there. And this one, just like the other one, there's nothing different about it. After 30 to 45 minutes, make sure that you remove that tape, no more than an hour, and then let it tumble for 5 to 6 hours. If you can leave it here overnight, leave it here overnight. The more time, the better. And then you should be left with a beautiful resin epoxy tumbler. So I hope that you enjoyed this awesome glitter tumbler video. I had a ton of fun making it. As you can see, our tumbler is still tumbling here, and then after we remove the tape and we let him cure, we'll be able to pop the top back on and parade him around town and hope that we get a ton of compliments on it, because it is so cute. You guys will have a ton of fun making it yourself, and if you love that cut file, you'll be able to get that for free today. Here is just a tumbler, a finished glitter tumbler that we have made using the exact same process. I just wanted to have something finished out here for you guys. It's a really cute tumbler. Again, you can use whatever type of glitter you want, and whatever type of quote you want, whatever colors of vinyl you want. Just get really creative and make it your own. I hope that you enjoyed this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.